Speaking of supporting the podcast, I wanted to say thank you for a 5-star review that the show received from 419 Frog Fan, who calls the show great, saying, I love the chapter by chapter aspect. You don't miss a darn thing doing it that way. And the host has made me think about the book in ways I never have. See, I love getting these reviews, and there's something extra special about this particular review. Garrett, do you know what that is?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
You wrote it.
Hey, we can't be sure.
We can.
We can't be sure.
But it warms my heart every time.
But it's true. I never like when you look back at the book as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
You don't look back at it chapter by chapter and go, oh well, I guess I should have saw that coming because insert foreshadowing here or what. Like you don't look at it that way. When you break it down snippet by snippet, I get a new appreciation for just damn it how good it is. Except for this book. Except for this book.
Well, even within it though, like you always find that even stuff that you remember finding to be not the best part of the series, to say the least, it's like, oh, I forgot about that like nuance to it. Like I had forgotten in this chapter, one, the Whomping Willow thing, how quick it was. I had forgotten how just true to character. Basically, we could do the whole foreshadowing segment just literally on the characters because the way they act in this chapter is literally setting them up for the entire series. Yeah. I totally forgot that was a thing. So even though particularly the early part of this book is a lot of just reminding you what happened in the first book, those nuggets and those moments are great.
And it just makes me appreciate it that much more when you get to see that the microcosm of everybody in this just small snippet of, hey, this is what the next however long it takes you to read or whatever, that's what this is. That is what you should expect from here on out because this is who these people are.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the review, by the way. I would like to read more of those reviews.
I can create new accounts or...
Yeah, might need it. But anyways, somebody other than Garrett, if you'd like to leave a review, please do. Let's go ahead and jump into our next segment.
Lumos.
So let's pull out our wands, light the tips. We're not blowing smoke. We're here to illuminate Albus Dumbledore. Does it make sense to talk about Dumbledore in a chapter that he appears on like 3 pages or so? Of course it does. And I have a few things that I want to talk through together to see if we can kind of theorize on the fly a little bit. First, where are we right now with Dumbledore? More importantly, where is Dumbledore with Harry? I've suggested before on this podcast that I think Dumbledore's feelings for Harry kind of developed over time. I think early in the series, he was more of a chess piece for Dumbledore to use in his ultimate goal of bringing down Voldemort for good. And that's what all the testing and training and mentorship that he got in the first book was really all about. But at some point in the series, it turned for Dumbledore.
Yeah. I'm in agreement 100% with you, by the way, of he is absolutely 100% a chess piece. And I this is what I need to win. When you take a step back and look at the series as a whole, it's Harry Potter and blank. When in reality, it's the story of Albus Dumbledore versus Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
Told
through the
eyes of Harry Potter.
Yep.
Because he doesn't know that it's the story of Albus Dumbledore versus Lord Voldemort. He views it as Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
You're absolutely right. I completely agree.
But you're right. And then at some point, Dumbledore goes, holy shit, this kid's got really high character.
Yeah.
And that's something that I value in people.
Yeah. And I would argue that it was at that moment, it no longer is Dumbledore wanting to bring down Voldemort and training Harry to do it come hell or high water.
Right.
His efforts and his planning, his whole master plan, I believe, shifted to still wanting to bring down Voldemort, but wanting Harry to survive in doing it.
Yeah.
I think right now in this moment of the book, in book 2, he's still primarily in asset mode.
Yeah.
I think it's at the end of this book and in kind of from there and then going through book 3 when that shift actually starts to
I was going
occur.
to say, I think it takes a while still where, like, I think, you know, like maybe, and this is a weird term, like he starts to have feelings for Harry a little bit and it's like, I got to cut that out because I know what has to happen and I can't become like, I grew up in a farm community. And people will tell you, like, tell their kids, don't get attached to that cow.
Yeah.
Like, that cow is not a pet.
Yeah.
We're going to need him later.
Yeah.
That's the lens that Albus Dumbledore is viewing Harry Potter of, like, I'm starting to get attached to you. You got to cut that out because I know what's happening.
Yeah.
And eventually
But
it becomes so much that, like, I can't. I really do. Like, I've genuinely grown to love this kid.
But I think that it happens a little bit sooner than you do, and particularly because of events in the 4th book.
I was going to say, even in Goblet of Fire, I think he is still like.
I think there's still a hint of it, but I think at that point, at the end of this book, he has, I believe, put together the multiple Horcrux theory. He may not have fleshed out the entirety of it, but I think that he knows that that's what he's dealing with is multiple Horcruxes. And I think at some point after that, likely within the time span of the 3rd book, he has put 2 and 2 together that Harry is likely a Horcrux.
Right.
If he doesn't, then he's starting to suspect it a little bit. And by sometime in 4, like early in 4, he knows. Like, that's what the connection's about. That's what Parseltongue's about.
I have these dreams sometime, Professor. And he's like, oh, son of a bitch.
And that's when he knows that thing has to be killed. How do I make sure that Harry survives?
Right.
And I think that it happens in that time span because of, and I don't know if you recall it, it's fresh in my brain because of another podcast that I went on to. Shout out to the restricted section. I'm full of shout outs today.
That's great.
The Gleam of Triumph. When Harry tells him that Voldemort used Harry's blood to regenerate a body. And Dumbledore has what Harry describes as a moment of like a gleam of triumph. Because that's the moment that Dumbledore figured out this kid can live through it.
Right. You're not just a lamb to the slaughter. Like,
and it had to have been important. He had to have been trying to figure out how Harry could survive it up to that point for him to even give a shit.
Right.
But we're well beyond this book.
This chapter.
But I think what you were saying, you know, his character, I think at the end of this book, the way that he treats Dobby and also what goes down in the Chamber of Secrets, and particularly the loyalty that brings Fawkes to him and stuff. Like, I think all of that stuff goes into Dumbledore. Like, oh, I actually have to give a shit about this kid. Oh man, now what am I gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
This is gonna be hard. Like, it's almost like I'm like taking your dog to the vet to have it put down. Like.
And perhaps that's why it takes 7 years for him to figure out what the heck to do, because
he's like,
or 6 years, I guess, before he topples off of the tower.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, takes a bit of a dive. Okay, so back to more present day, and by present day I mean, like, what was this?
1998,
99 or something? Yeah. I'm curious. Do you think that he knew about the barrier that Dobby put on? At King's Cross Station.
That's a great question.
Or at least that they missed the train already.
When the dude knows all, right?
Yeah.
So I assume he doesn't know that Dobby closed platform 9 3/4, but he knows. Okay, they missed the train. Why he can put 2 and 2 together. Like, why are there 5 Weasleys on the train and Ron isn't?
Yeah.
Why are Ron and Harry not on the train, but everybody else is? What's the deal?
You think that he knew before the Evening Prophet came out?
Yes.
And so it wasn't just him seeing the article and going, oh, that was definitely them.
Yeah. But
Okay.
and when he says like explain yourselves, he's got a good idea of what the explanation should be.
Yeah.
And when they tell him what he already thinks or knows, that's what saves them from not being expelled. If they were like, well, we thought we were badasses and we'd fly.
That'd be fun.
Right. Like, he's like,
just seemed fun.
I swear to God, this is what happened. And,
Yeah.
Snape doesn't want to hear it because Snape doesn't want to hear. Like, and this is, like, it's frustrating as hell, I think, for Harry and Ron because at least I think we all can relate to being that somewhat age and being like, I swear to God, this is the truth. And as an adult is like, I'm not buying your bull crap. Like, no, this is, I swear to you, this is what happened. And they're like, you just want to be important. Like, no, that's not it at all.
Yeah, that's not what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's not once when we were flying through the air I was like, the ladies are going to love this.
Yeah.
No, I needed to get to school.
Yeah. Well, they did have that moment of thinking about what the entrance might look like.
Yeah.
So
but
maybe there was a little bit of, but it wasn't in the plan.
Right, it wasn't for a long time.
But this is also why Snape's the one that finds them, right? Like, that there was Snape is Dumbledore's little minion,
right.
At the whole time, his sidekick, if you will. There was a wink nudge of
right.
Go get them.
Severus, there are 2 students who did not make the train today.
Yeah.
Who were they, sir? It was Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. Perfect.
Yeah. I need you to be the one that finds them.
Right, figure out what happened here. You got it, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so slight gear shift for the last thing that has to do with Albus Dumbledore in our Lumos discussion is something we alluded to earlier. The Whomping Willow. We learn in book 3 why Dumbledore planted it there. We're aware of what its existence was there for. Why is it still there?
It must just be resistant to weed killer. I don't know.
There's no longer a werewolf as a student.
Yeah.
Nobody needs that passage. Nobody has for decades. Like, why did he not get rid of the murder tree?
Maybe they're difficult to come by. Maybe he
We're
thought
children. Yeah,
there might be more werewolves someday. I don't know.
Might need it. Never know.
Right. That's the I'm gonna this is a nice cardboard box. I'm gonna save this box. What are you saving a box for? It's a nice box. You never know when you're gonna need it.
Yeah. I might have a kid someday, and they don't want toys. They just want the box.
There was a great meme that I saw just go crazy viral last week. That was like, man who put piece of wood in garage in 1982 gloats because he finally used it. Like that's exactly what this tree is. It's just like, you never know. Well, let's leave it up. It's a nice conversation piece.
And also made of wood. Ironically enough, that person in that meme was actually Albus Dumbledore, and that piece of wood came from the Whomping Willow.
It all comes full circle.
Who could have ever predicted that in Divination class?
Divination.
So it's time to highlight 4 moments in the chapter that foreshadow something to come in the future of our series. Garrett, did you prepare 4 things for this foreshadow?
As a classic underachiever, I did not.
Okay. I just wanted to know if I was going to get your list while I was going through mine, but I guess not. I'm not mad. I'm just...
it cuts like a knife.
Foreshadow number 1, the car being a sentient being and sort of saving them from the Whomping Willow, even if it didn't make any sense. It does sort of foreshadow the car coming to their rescue later in this book, when they'll most certainly be eaten alive by Aragog's giant spider family, even though it doesn't really make any sense.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason I didn't pick that chapter.
Yeah. Moving on. Foreshadow number 2, the whole Snape coming out to meet Harry, who got to Hogwarts later than the rest of the students, and giving him relentless shit about wanting to make a grand entrance and being attention seeking and blah, 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 blah. Sorry, let me blah, 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 blah. Anyway, this is a very direct foreshadow to book 6, Ring Theory, where he meets Harry at the gate when Tonks, who we met earlier in this book, obviously, drops him off and gives him the same speech, albeit a bit more visceral that time. It kind of scales up with Harry's age.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was holding back a little when he was 12, or
What a nice guy.
He's just been stewing that long because he didn't get the expulsion.
Right. You should have been expelled in your second year. Okay.
Yeah, and Dumbledore's not going to do it this time either.
I don't know why he was a 1920s like gangster in my. You should have been expelled second year, see?
You're just crossing over Fantastic Beast timelines because McGonagall was teaching then too, apparently.
Yeah, she was. She was killing it then too, just like now.
Mm-hmm.
If she's not my favorite character, she's my second favorite character. Something we can talk about at some point, but she is upper echelon.
That's fair.
If not
I have
favorite,
a hard
second
time.
Favorite.
Yeah, I have a hard time with favorite characters. I feel like Harry needs more votes in that category. I don't know that I can be the one to give it to him.
There's 7 books named after him.
I know, but that's why he's not anybody's favorite character.
I thought about this earlier today. And it pisses me off. The only the one flaw that Harry has is that he doesn't really have many flaws. No, it's the idea that
he's perfectly average.
In 7 books, he never got really backstabbed. He never got he judged someone's character wrong. That he never trusted someone that he shouldn't have, and it really came back to bite him in the ass. We've all got that story of somebody that we're oh yeah, I really trusted them, and then I was oh, that was a mistake. Yeah, that was a problem. He doesn't he judged everyone perfectly except for Snape until the end. That sucks. You never got one wrong.
And he had Snape's character spot on.
Right.
Didn't have
the story incorrect.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. He is. I think the thing that bugs me about Harry and what makes it so he can't be my favorite character is that it's almost not viable that he becomes that he's the hero because he is so incredibly average. And even the teaching the Dumbledore's army and the DADA lessons is kind of, to me, a bit far-fetched because he's sort of, I don't know, I feel like he doesn't even have the bag to then teach other people the bag.
Unremarkable is not the right word, but it kind of is in that context of you're so I don't know that anybody's seeing you in class and being shit, that guy's got I gotta go to the room requirement with that dude. I don't know. Your star power works, but when push comes to shove, everybody's oh, you're learning kind of just the same things we are at the same time.
Kind of, yeah. And I mean, he shows a knack for teaching and blah blah blah. We can get into that in about a year and a half. But I kind of do wish that he had, and perhaps even all the way in the 7th book, during the camping trip, really come into his own and shown some semblance of power other than, oh, there's a Horcrux inside of me, so I get answers to things when the plot needs to move forward. Flashed in my brain. And
we got to move this thing we got to get this thing going. Oh, thank God. I can now see.
And that's none of it's on his own merit. Maybe that's what bugs me. None of it actually comes via his own merit.
Yeah.
And I wish it did. And then he would probably be my favorite character. But I want to make him that because nobody else will.
Yeah.
I am a Hermione fan though. Book 1 Hermione's I'm a Hermione arc fan, I think.
That's my I thoroughly enjoy Draco Malfoy. His arc is from where he starts to where he ends as a long trip that people generally do not make.
I guess I don't see his redemption. I just don't
I don't think we get the opportunity to see his redemption.
And that's why I can't. I think his redemption is more in people's minds than on the page.
And that is 100% fair. But even in 19 years later, his even small semblance of being able to smile and say hello from where we started to getting to there is a whole hell of a lot of work.
It is. I'm not saying
and I'm not saying there's still a good chance that he's a cock knocker as an adult. There's a very good chance of that. But even getting to be palatable by the end of the series is well done. Well done, Draco.
Yeah, maybe you're putting more stock in 19 years later than I am. Because I kind of ignore that part.
And I get that.
I get to Battle of Hogwarts, like, he didn't kill Harry.
Well,
good on you, bud.
Well, that's the like,
you know,
I guess not just immediately being like, oh, there are my parents and Lord Voldemort. Well, I guess I better stroll over there. Like, you know, like even the thought of at 18 years old being like, we're not the good guys, are we? Like coming to that realization, like, my family's not the good guys. I might have gotten this wrong for the last couple of years.
I can give you that, and I can see how people get there. I guess I just
because I
find other things more enjoyable about the series than that. Because I just think he's so much of a douche all the way up until then that I don't care.
Warranted. I just I live in an area where, and this is a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. It's like people my age vote for certain candidates because that's how I've been told to vote for my entire life. I live in an area where you are like, this is where you live. You're allowed to go to one of like 5 colleges for 4 years. And when you graduate with a very prestigious degree, you move back to this area. You have 3 to 6 kids and you vote a certain way because by God, that's how we do it around here. And I see how like difficult it is to get people to kind of break that circle. And for Draco Malfoy of all like people to be kind of like, you know, in a high class family of this is how we do things, and him being like, oh, that's not great. By the end of it, it's like, you know what? I have a lot of love for you if you can figure out by the end of this, like, that ain't great.
Maybe not the right call.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of foreshadowing. You pretty much know everything that's going to happen with Draco. Third foreshadow.
Sorry about that.
That's literally what podcasts are for. Harry mentioning that it wasn't the first time that he had a feeling Snape could read minds. Foreshadowing. Snape can read minds. We learn it for real in the Order of the Phoenix, and then we also get some of it in Half-Blood Prince of him reading Harry's mind when he almost kills Garrett's favorite character in the series. Who deserved it, by the way, because he was about to Crucio the shit out of Harry. And
not disputing that.
Although, to be fair, Harry maybe try that on a post-it note before
just being like, I don't know what it does, but here we go. Ha!
Yeah, not great.
And then immediately it's like, oh,
yeah,
problem.
Okay, foreshadow number 4.
Foreshadow when Harry, number 14.
Yeah, so much foreshadowing. I think we're just talking at this point. When Harry pleads with Prof. McGee about not taking points from Gryffindor because the term hadn't started yet when they took the car back to your, well, technically.
I was going to say that's the second. Well, technically.
She's described as giving him a piercing look, but he was sure she almost smiled. To me, this is a foreshadow to the bond that these two develop over the years. Prof. McGee's painted as a very stern, strict, and almost scary witch, but she ends up being an incredible ally to Harry and shows how badass she is at multiple points, particularly towards the end. And this is just sort of a seed planted in that direction. And there's something about her summoning sandwiches that gives me a little bit of reminiscence of Have a Biscuit Potter, which I quite enjoy. Also, let's just throw this out there. She's literally the reason that Harry successfully uses Crucio the only time in this series. And it's defending her honor. And it kind of starts right now.
See, there are a lot of people that have either daddy issues or mommy issues. Unfortunately for Harry Potter, he has daddy issues and mommy issues. And we see it highlighted time and time again that he gets those kind of daddy issues, at times at least, assuaged with Professor Dumbledore. It's never really highlighted with Professor McGonagall, but that's exactly what's happening. She is what he needs when he needs it. Because for a lot of the time, he needs stern discipline, structure, and when he needs love and nurturing and all of those things, there she is as well. Generally, when you think of mother figure for Harry Potter, you think of Molly Weasley, and that's fine. But for 9 months out of the year at school, it's Minerva McGonagall.
It is.
And that's why I love her, because she is like, she's almost the moral compass of the series. Like, everybody every once in a while will wade into like, I don't care how we got to do it, this is how we do it. She'll be like, I don't think that's a great idea.
Unless Quidditch.
True. But
She will bend the rules for
I think we all can agree that that's okay.
It is. It's absolutely okay.
But
Sports she's the most important thing in life.
She's right. She's what Harry needs when he needs it. And I don't. This is me. Like, I don't know that that's the author as much as that's her personality. Like, she's very much aware of the face that she needs to put on in the moment. Yeah.
That's all I can say. Yeah, a whole bunch of times. Quality podcasting. Okay, that wraps up foreshadowing and our divination. So let's give away some
House points.
In true Hogwarts fashion, these points are completely subjective with no oversight and fully at my discretion. This week, I am giving house points to Dumbledore. 10 points in total, 5 for shutting down Snape's temper tantrum that he wasn't expelling Harry and Ron, and 5 extra for not expelling Harry and Ron. Prof. McGee, I'm giving 2 points for the refilling sandwich tray.
I was going to say, it better be for the sandwiches.
Absolutely. That's like a personal all-you-can-eat buffet.
These kids haven't eaten.
And I'm incredibly jealous that we can't do this. And I'm imagining Snape's reaction when he finds his desk just covered in sandwiches because it's just kept replenishing itself. And he's like pissed trying to get rid of it. And I would love it if she put some kind of like sticking charm and it took him like a month to get the stupid sandwiches off his desk. Like that, just as a little rib from McGee to Snape, that would
Just to give her being a dick.
Bring me a lot of joy.
You're gonna smell pimento cheese for the next month.
Yeah. So
I don't know why they're pimento cheese sandwiches, but damn it, that's where my mind went.
Why
like
not?
It's not like you're not going to have great sandwiches. They're not going to be like there's not a tray of Jimmy John's there on the. You're going to get like pimento cheese on wheat, and you're going to like it.
I believe it was described as they were at least like different kinds of sandwiches. There were like chicken sandwiches and ham sandwiches, and like at least she took care of them. She took care of them
naturally.
Of course. McGee and Molly just making sure that Harry stays fed. Literally the only people in the world. Hermione feeds them when they're camping, but like, that's
not great.
Poisonous mushrooms. Anyways, so now that's it. That's all I've got for actually giving away house points in this episode. Not a lot of rewarding
we
moments.
Take like 3 points away from Arthur Weasley for like having a invisibility button in the car that doesn't work.
You know what? We absolutely can't. He wasn't on my list. I am taking points away from people. He wasn't on my list, but I will add it. I'm going to put a note. Arthur, 3, Garrett.
If there's like one thing like I'm banking on inside this car, it's
the invisibility.
The invisibility button is going to work, and it's not going to the car's not just going to do whatever it damn well pleases.
Right. Absolutely.
Doesn't need a pat on the back and a sugar cube like it's a horse.
I like it. I think it's warranted too. So yes, Arthur Weasley is losing 3 points. Ron is also losing 10 for this whole dumbass idea that got him into this mess in the first place.
Because Harry was going to be responsible. Let's just stand here and wait until your parents get back. Which, by the way, what did they like? Were they standing on the other side of the platform? Like,
I don't know.
Where are these dudes? We never know.
They probably just apparate to the other side.
And they're like, where are these slapdicks? Oh, they're flying through the air. Great.
Yeah, wonderful. Where's the car? And then they
see it flying away, and Molly shaking her fist.
Yeah,
you rat kids.
Yeah, that's what we didn't know is that they were the ones that actually sent the pictures into the Prophet. That's not true because Arthur gets in trouble for this whole thing. Maybe that's why I didn't take points away from him because he's almost lost his job. Yeah. But I am taking points away from Harry as well. He's getting 5 for not being the more logical of the two and actually letting Ron call the shots here. But I do have a side theory. This is the moment in the series that Harry decides that he's the leader of this trio because if they follow Ron's lead, they're screwed, dead, or both.
You're standing there in a train station like, he seems awful confident. Let's follow him. And then after that was like, never again.
Never again.
Never again. I followed you playing chess. You want to stop Snape from getting that stone? Oh, not. It makes sense. And then now it's like, I run the show now.
Yeah. Yep.
Good call, buddy.
Good call. No more Ron ideas. Yeah. Dobby's losing 15 for putting up the barrier in the first place and continuing to be the most annoying or have the most annoying character introduction possibly in all of literature, which I'm totally an expert on. Sure.
I like your chances.
Snape losing 25 for being a grown-ass man who never got over his childhood crush or his childhood bully, letting both turn into a lifelong obsession and using that to fuel his bullying of children and the twisted pleasure he gets in punishing one in particular whose only crime against Snape was that he was birthed by the two obsessions, yet he wants nothing more than to railroad this kid and have him kicked out of school. To the point in this chapter, he literally has to be told shut the fuck up by Dumbledore like a small child who, direct quote, looked as though Christmas had been canceled. That's worth 25, right?
I think so. Also, it would have been great if literally Albus Dumbledore said, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I agree.
It really would have packed more punch. If the one time there's like, you know, like in the 5th chapter of the 2nd book where Dumbledore's like, bro, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with your shit anymore. Okay, so I will add all of these points into my nerdy ass spreadsheet and tally them up for the end of this season's Bingy Awards. Before we go, I have to acknowledge the moments in this episode that were utterly
Riddikulus.
It's not an episode of the binge if we don't call out what didn't make any sense at all, starting with Molly falling for the enchantments on the car when they're all stuffed inside this car together.
Comfortably.
She's not an idiot. It's total bullshit. We already talked about that. Molly and Arthur leaving Harry and Ron to go through the barrier. We already talked about that. Also ridiculous. The barrier itself isn't ridiculous, but the fact that it works is. And it goes back to something I've said before on this podcast. The only way that this entire student body can get to this school is through one single train that's boarded through one single brick wall. The logistics don't make any sense. It's all nonsense. In reality, you would have a line and it would never work. It's just ridiculous. And Snape knowing exactly where to find them in 2 seconds is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that you can think of that we missed that you wanted to bring up about this chapter?
I do. I love in the books, the very small illustration at the start of each chapter. And I think the illustration in this one is fantastic. Like it is, because when you close your eyes, what are you supposed to expect a Whomping Willow looks like? So thanks for the help there. Whoever, I guess Willow. I wouldn't expect a Willow to be all that whomping, but this tree looks maniacal, and now I know. So thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I am reading on a phone with the Kindle Unlimited thing, and so I don't know. I guess I didn't clock it. I just hit the table of contents to the chapter, and I went straight to the word. Like it didn't
click.
I
should look.
I feel like I'm missing. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing something. Not doing it with a physical copy of the books, but the only physical copy of the books that I own are at my mom's house because she was listening to the podcast and didn't know what the hell was going on. So I bought her the books. I've been reading them electronically this entire time.
Oh well, no, I read that chapter this afternoon, and I slipped my pinky slipped, and I lost my place in the book, and was like, this is why I should just do Kindle. There's no I lost my place. Damn it, where was I? So I don't blame you for going electronic only.
Trying to think if I had anything else.
That's it. I swear to God, I'll shut up now.
No, you're good. I can't think of anything. I love these long ones. They bring me a lot of joy. The editing is going to be a nightmare, but that's going to be between you and me and whoever's listening. I'm just going to say it. We have been dealing with Zoom's 40-minute limit on this thing. We've been kicked off like 4 times.
Yep. Sorry about that.
We just keep having to open it back up and keep going. So life of a podcaster.
Yeah, the first 40 minutes was like, how are you? What have you been doing?
We
haven't seen you.
It's literally years, right? Like
your wedding.
Well, no, we both attended a funeral.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. So even that's 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, still 2.5 years. Wow.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
We're old.
I like to put that out the back of my mind. Yeah. No, I saw a great meme earlier this week that was 100% true. That said, when you were a kid and your bedtime was 9 o'clock, you were like, I can't wait till I'm an adult and I can stay up however long I want. And then you realize it's about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's when you want it to be.
Yeah. You got it much worse. I just got a puppy. We put in a cage and like, go to bed. You got a little rougher than I do.
He sleeps in a cage now because we just can't have two of them. Like the child not wanting to sleep. When she finally does fall asleep, the couple of times we've tried to leave him out, he will just get up and start shaking his ears or something, wake her up, and it's like, shut up. Yeah, have you ever seen a wiener dog toss from a 2-story window? Because we've been real close.
It's gonna happen.
And I don't think they're like cats. I don't think they just pop back up when they land.
Nope. They don't always land on their feet.
Man. Anyways, speaking of the life of a podcaster, Garrett, this has been a blast. Thank you for coming on and gracing us with your presence. Please plug any and everything that you're doing in life that you want people to know about.
Oh, I'm genuinely honored. Genuinely honored, not generally. Genuinely honored. I'm genuinely honored to be
these, but on this one, it kind of.
I am genuinely honored to be on the podcast. I'm glad you asked. I'm glad I inserted myself to be like, yo, when do I get to do this? No, I genuinely enjoy what you do with the podcast. I have a podcast with a friend, like we said at the start of the episode, the Rankum podcast, where we rank books,
which
movies.
I've never been invited on, by the way. Just so everybody knows.
Getting another person to sit across the room from you even is difficult enough. That we rank books, we rank movies, actors, restaurant breads, whatever you can think of. We pick our top 5 or things we hate sometimes. The last episode I think we did was driving pet peeves. What pisses you off when you're driving? If you're not moving your tail on the on-ramp, I want to slash your tires. So so sometimes we get hateful. That's when we're at our best. But the Rankum Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you download your podcast, you can listen in. We would appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad that it's back. That's all I've got to say. I was today years old when I realized that it was back.
There was a hot hiatus there for a second where
there was.
Zach mentioned I work in sports talk radio, so it was like, what do you do for fun? Virtually the same thing. Like, so eventually it was like, okay, this isn't fun anymore. This is just like more work. But so now I found.
And then you missed it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I imagine that's what it will be. If I ever just like get so sick of Harry Potter and talking about it, I'll just be like, I'm done with this. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm going to be like, you know what would be a really fun thing to bring up on a podcast about Harry Potter?
Yep. And you're like,
yeah,
back in that circle.
Pretty much.
Yep.
With that, we've reached the end of this episode of The Binge. As always, shout out to producer Jack, who I work like a dog when he's not flying through the air out of an upstairs window. This is not cruelty. Don't call I'm joking.
He's earned it.
Remember to follow and subscribe to the show on whatever podcast player you're using. And if it supports a rating and review option, please leave one. If you're so inclined, check out the additional benefits available on patreon.com/belatedbinge. Link in the show notes for that. If you're reading along, next episode, we'll be covering chapter 6 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Gilderoy Lockhart, which is sure to be a joy. Until then, I'll see you next time on the Belated Binge podcast.
Ron grinned guiltily at Harry. I know I shouldn't have enjoyed that or anything, but the dormitory door flew open, and in came the other second-year Gryffindor boys, Seamus Finnegan, Dean Thomas, and Neville Longbottom. Unbelievable, deemed Seamus. Cool, said Dean. Amazing, said Neville, awestruck. Harry couldn't help it. He grinned, too.
Recording stopped.
I was like, he grinned too.
Hey, Dad.
He got smiled. He got his teethers out too.
Yay! I'm going to make sure I get that in there somehow.
One of the things we talked about on today's show was there's a recruit from Ohio State, or for Ohio State today, and his name was Mateo Uiagalelei. And I just kept saying Uiagalelei because I was like, because I can fucking say Uiagalelei, I'm going to keep saying Mateo Uiagalelei. And then like the last time I went to say it was like, oh, I was like, ah, you fucking idiot. You sound like a goddamn moron.
Been there. My kid's asleep. That's my hope. She didn't nap today.
That would be best case Ontario.
Yeah, she didn't nap today. So she was very much in destructive mode for.
I get that.
Mm-hmm. Just like throwing shit.
I'm going to do whatever the fuck I have to stay awake. Fuck you guys. Like, please don't. Please just go down for the count.
Pretty much. Yeah,
I'm not fucking stopping. Okay.
Yeah.
If I sit still for 4.5 seconds, I'm passing the fuck out. Okay. All right. Good to know. Good to know.
That's all right. And she does. It's not only having to keep moving, it's also like I'm literally going to just break stuff.